Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, as you noticed, we only did 2 episodes, but that's because I didn't know that episode 25 was going to be double length. Because of it, I decided to cut it there, because I was only planning for, like, a normal 3 episodes length of time today. And considering the time it is, I just thought it would be better to end it there and get to episode 26 next time. So I know the pre-thought says 24 through 26, but yeah, you can see it's just up to 25. I didn't even realize while watching that it was double length. You know that? But I'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the first episode. So, Lucy is feeling that she's being stepped all over by her family, that she's being ignored in a lot of cases, and just being poorly treated. And so she decides to try to put these curses from this spell book she finds that belong to an ancestor. She decides to put these spells on her family members. And we find out that coincidentally things happen that seem like they would be the effects of the spells, but it's just coincidence. Like when she casts the spell to stop the communication with Lori, her phone dies. When we, when she casts a spell to make Lisa's fingers super sticky, her fingers only get super sticky because she spills a solution on herself that happens to be a good adhesive. And when she casts a spell to make them all mute, they lose their voices because of cheering for Pop Pop in a shuffleboard contest or competition or whatever. I think that's a funny little twist. I like the episode because it focused pretty much entirely on Lucy. Lincoln and the other sisters were there, but they were background characters, supporting cast in order to support Lucy's story with this episode. And I like that. I've mentioned plenty of times, and I'm going to keep mentioning it, this is what I want to see. Stories that focus on the sisters, that focus on what they are doing, with them as the focused main character. Then we get to our second episode, and this one also does the same thing, except this one focuses on Ronnie Ann, with a minor focus on Bobby, and of course we have the other Casagrandas, as well as Lincoln and Lori as supporting cast as well. But Ronnie Ann is definitely the focused character. And while I love the first episode of these two, this double-length second episode, I forgot what it was called, it was like Operation something, I was not as big of a fan of. One, there's a few reasons. One, I knew the twist. I knew the twist that they were going to be moving there. And that does affect things. I did unfortunately know about this ahead of time. I mentioned it in a past reaction. I did know about this spin-off coming, the Casagrandas, that is going to focus on Ronnie Ann and Bobby's life in the city. Which, by the way, I can tell you I'm not interested in. Like, I probably won't react to that unless it's like a donation reward reaction for a mega stream. I won't be reacting to it on my own accord. Let's put it that way. And the reasoning for that is mostly my second reason that I didn't like this episode. I don't like any of the family members. Seriously, not a single one of them. They all feel like tired old tropes. And here's the thing, you can do characters who are tropey without making them feel like the tropes. Pretty much all of the Loud family sisters are huge proof of that. All of our sisters in the Loud house, they're very tropey, but they don't feel like just their tropes. They don't feel like cliches. These characters, the Casagrandas, Ronnie and Bobby's family and all, very much do. Very much do. Every single one feels like they're nothing but a trope. And not even likable tropes. I really can't. I have no real reason to like any of them. And it really turned me off of almost the entire episode. The only characters I actually liked in it were, outside of Lincoln and Lori, Ronnie, Bobby, and their mother. That's it. Like, seriously, none of the other ones I liked. The third reason I didn't like this episode is because it feels like it's trying to do the exact same thing as The Loud House. Especially with that ending. With Ronnie choosing to talk to the audience in this meta style and stuff. Which, I mean, the joke in and of itself is funny. But when you think about it, it comes across as just copycat. And if that carries over into the Casagrandes series, it's just going to feel like a straight up copycat of The Loud House. And it already did with this episode. While the characters' personalities are a little different, it just feels like the same exact thing. Oh, Ronnie and Bobby are living with this big old family. They're going to get up to these shenanigans, and they're going to have a lot of troubles dealing with it. Oh, what's the big thing there? They're going to end up loving each other, and they're going to have to deal with their shenanigans and shit. It's like it's The Loud House. It's The Loud House. The only difference is that they are, that they're Hispanic, and that their personalities are slightly different, and that they live in the city in a small, like, 2-apartment bodega. That's it. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same concept. Just instead of only one main character, there's technically two. The point is, it feels like it's just a retread. Like it's trying to do the same thing with The Loud House as it's trying to do the same thing with Ronnie and Bobby that it did with the Loud family. And it just feels like a complete, like, ripoff. The fourth reason is I don't like the idea of them moving away. Yes, long-distance relationships in terms of Bobby and Lori can very much work. Long-distance relationships are a thing that can work, and in a lot of cases do. And they even mentioned how, like, oh, in a year they'll be able to go to college together, right here in the city and all. And it's like, fair enough. And the idea that Ronnie Ann and Lincoln can remain friends and still hang out online and stuff, sure. I think it's forced, though. I think the idea of, again, this kind of goes into the last point, too. The idea of them moving in with this family and everything feels extremely forced. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like it should be happening. It doesn't, if there were build-up to this, if there was legitimate build-up and it felt like it was a bigger deal throughout, like, even like the entire season, then maybe. But as it is, it just kind of came out of nowhere and feels like they're forcing this huge status quo change on the series. Especially for characters who, at least in Bobby's case, is a pretty major supporting character. And a less major, but still noteworthy supporting character in Ronnie Ann. It seems like they're just trying to force this on things, just to, again, try to capitalize off of the success of The Loud House. It's like, oh, this series did well, let's make a spin-off with this other family. Oh, because that's never gone poorly before, looking at all of the other spin-offs that do shit. And not even counting spin-offs of already terrible shows, like the Cleveland Show being a spin-off of Family Guy, both of which are absolute shit. But even spin-offs of most shows just don't tend to work. Because you're following characters who are not the reason you liked the first show in the first place. Either that, or the show ends up trying to just be a copycat of the original. Now, that's not to say that there's no cases of spin-offs that work. There's plenty of examples of spin-offs that do work. The Simpsons was a spin-off. It was a spin-off of a short that was played during the Tracy Ullman Show. It had a spin-off that developed into its own separate show, and it became insanely popular. But it's also kind of a double-edged sword with that, because it became too popular to the point where it just keeps going and going, and no one even really likes it anymore. Like, seriously. So even the ones that did end up becoming super popular, a lot of times faded and became really obscure. And again, there are examples of spin-offs that did really well. But I just don't see this one being one of them. I see this one being one of the ones that are more negative, to be honest. That kind of maybe will start off pretty well, but then will just kind of fade into obscurity and probably only have maybe 2-3 seasons, because in the end, it won't be different enough. It won't be unique enough. It won't be interesting enough to keep people's attention. And they'll just want to continue watching The Loud House itself instead. I see it as basically just a greedy cash grab. It's like, oh, we're going to make another show to make more money because, oh, this one show we did so well. This spin-off has to do just as well. It just seems like a complete and total bad move. And this episode, it wasn't technically that terrible in terms of its execution, but I could not enjoy it. I could not enjoy it because of all the problems that it faced and all the problems that it kind of lays out for the future with this leading into the spin-off. I don't think it's a good idea. I just think I just feel it's forced. It just feels extremely forced, unnatural, and just like a bad decision all around. And the episode didn't help quell that. I think what would have made more sense and been better is if they didn't do a spinoff, for one, and at the end of this episode, Ronnie got her way. Because Ronnie was right to not want to move. Ronnie was in the right to find all of this extremely, not only just extremely sudden and extremely harrowing, but it's like it was just thrust upon them like this. One, if you are going to move, you'd never make it a surprise like that. That is a dick move. You never make it a surprise like that, because it just comes across as extremely disrespectful to your kids. And here's the thing. Yes, kids should respect their parents, but parents should also be respectful to their kids. They should show loving, caring, understanding, and they should, in the case of these big decisions, they should run it by their kids first. So the fact that Ronnie was clearly upset about this and uncomfortable about this was completely understandable. Bobby, I completely believe Bobby would be okay with this, but I think it should have. I think Ronnie's thoughts on this should have been taken seriously, and the fact that in the end they made her change her mind because of that ridiculously stupid moment with her getting her own room and everything. Like, seriously, that moment was dumb. Because, it felt extremely forced. It didn't feel natural in its execution. It's like, oh, we have to make sure that Ronnie Ann decides to stay. How are we going to do that? How are we going to make sure that Ronnie Ann wants to stay after all? Oh, let's just give her a Lincoln situation. Because we're not already trying to rip things off as it is. We're ripping off our own show as it is. Let's just continue to make it even worse. I'm sorry for those of you who like this episode. I'm sure there's plenty of you. I'm sorry for those of you who like the idea of this spinoff. I don't. I cannot see anything positive about this, really. Again, although I will admit there were some jokes and stuff in the episode that I did appreciate. But a lot of it just felt like really tired cliches, extremely forced plot points and resolutions to plot points, and just an overall poor decision on a writing standpoint. it just comes across as extremely random as well. As I said, it just kind of came out of nowhere, in the same way that it came out of nowhere for Ronnie, Ann, and Bobby. It was just completely... It felt as forced on us as viewers as it did on Ronnie Ann, and that's not a good thing. You're supposed to, in this kind of situation, you're supposed to be on Bobby's side by the end. You're supposed to see his perspective by the end. I just saw Ronnie Ann's the entire time. And at the end, I was really upset that Ronnie Ann's perspective was the one that changed, instead of ours as the viewer, or at least mine. Like I said, I did not like it. I did not like it. I did not like these characters. I thought they were extremely cliched and unlikable. I did not like the general story. I did not like where it went, and so on and so forth. I don't like the idea of them moving. I don't like the idea of the spin-off that's basically just a copycat of the original show. So yeah, I'm just going to say that here. I'm not a fan of this. This episode bothered the hell out of me. But, like I said, I did love the first episode out of these two. I did love episode 24, which was the Lucy episode. So there was that. And it's like, I really wish I would have had time to continue on to the next episode. But I actually want to get through with that other Mega Stream donation reward that I have. I want to get to that comic review. And if I got to the other episode, I know I would not be able to do the comic review as well. So I will get to episode 26 next time and move on from there. But yeah, like I've always said, I don't expect to love every episode of this series, and I hope you don't expect me to as well. Because it's not going to happen, if I'm being completely honest. But we'll see where it goes in the future. Maybe my mind could be changed, but I honestly don't see how that will happen. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me your thoughts on these two episodes down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time. Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Loud House Season 2, Episodes 24 through 26. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I know that the order it's listed in on Kim Cartoon is different than, I guess, the official order. And I'm saying this because I was mentioned this multiple times by some friends, and on top of that, I was asked recently, or I was told recently by Ronnie on Twitter. You messaged me and mentioned that you can't wait for me to get to a certain episode, which the title of I've actually already forgotten, funny enough. But you said you can't wait for me to get to that episode. Don't mention the title of the episode again. Please don't tell me episode titles beforehand, just for future reference. But I did look it up to see when that episode was coming, and technically it should be, if it was going by the airing order and everything, I would be getting to it in this video, but with the way it is, with the way I am going by the order on Kim Cartoon, so I won't be getting to it until next week because of that. But that being said, yeah, so we have 24 through 26 today, 3 more episodes that I know nothing about. And I don't know anything about that episode that you were excited for me to get to, Ronnie, by the way. And again, don't tell me what the name of it was. I want to forget that. Please do not tell me episode titles beforehand. But yeah, I don't actually know anything about that, by the way. I just know what's coming up in the next set. Either way. So this set of episodes I know nothing about, per usual. But I'll be honest, I'm not exactly in the most reaction happy mood right now. I'm not upset or anything, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm not happy. I'm not saying that I'm upset or angry or frustrated or sad or anything. I'll just say it here. I just did my reaction to the "Won't You Be My Neighbor" movie, which was a donation reward for the mega streams and all. And while I liked the documentary itself, I didn't like reacting to it. So I'm kind of in a mood about that right now, I guess you could call it. I'm just kind of thrown off a little bit because, again, I liked the documentary. I did not like reacting to the documentary. I did not like the experience of reacting to it. So I'm just kind of thrown off the reaction mood at the moment, but I do need to get to this, and I'm going to be getting to it. So, yeah. I don't know what to expect, but hopefully we get more good episodes. Hopefully we get more episodes that stray away from just focusing on Lincoln and Clyde even. And hopefully we just get more good stuff, because this season's been definitely going in that direction. And I'm hoping we continue it. Now, I believe I mentioned in the past that this is one of those shows that we will have at some point have to take another break from. It won't be as long as last time, I can guarantee that, but we will need to take another break from it because it's one of those shows that gets really, not boring as time goes on, definitely not boring, but it just gets hard to watch the same show in the same spot for too long of a time. It gets old. And so I'm going to need to change things up again. I'm going to try to make it until season 2's end, but I don't think I'll be able to, if I'm being honest. Because if I look that up right now, just to make sure, I think we're only like halfway through the season. Because I think season 2 is like, again, counting the fact that they're half-length episodes and all, I think it's like 50-something episodes. I might be wrong about that. That's why I'm looking it up. And looking it up on other sources won't work, so I have to go to the actual Kim cartoon. Okay, so there's 46, so over halfway through. Over halfway, but not by much. So, I don't know. At some point, we might have to take a break, even before the end of the season. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to see and kind of go from there. If we do take a break, yeah, I think I mentioned this last time, and it kind of goes for the same deal with OKKO, with shows like that, basically. If I do take a break, something else will replace it, and then this show will come back as soon as I can get to it. As soon as a spot opens up, basically. So yeah. Hopefully these episodes entertain me enough to make me want to keep going, though. But we'll see. We'll see. Either way, even if I do put them on hold for a time, even if I do, like, just do that, I'm not dropping them. Just keep that in mind. They will just be put on hold, and we will come back to them. Just like we're doing with regular show currently. So, that being said, yeah, I have nothing else I really have to say regarding this set, because, again, I know nothing about these episodes. But hopefully, again, they're good. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. Well, episodes. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction.
And though you've come through many obstacles,